Okay, I think it's a lazy approach to policy making, to policy initiative, to thinking about a problem in the sum total of that problem. When the U.S. Senate tabled Nigeria's matter, did you see how in-depth, how diverse and rich the conversations were? Now, I don't think you can have that quality of conversations in Nigerian Senates.
Do you have a conversation?
In fact, I think 2 senators yesterday blasted the Senate president for trying to always compare. Oh, it happened before in Chibok, so you don't hold this Tinubu administration responsible. We are getting there. There's a shallowness to Nigeria that pains me in almost everything we do, including the artisan that comes to your house to repair something. There's a shallowness to what we do, and at the end of the day we leave it to God, or in this case we go and say let us legalize firearms for responsible, because when they said responsible the assumption now they are telling you is that there is a certain class of Nigerians that can bear firearms, as if this period we've not seen irresponsible people bear it. And this is going to set off a whole trade and a whole black market of firearms that will now become more threat to the security agencies
that is already existing.
No, to an existing problem. So I worry about how shallow we are with our thinking, with our implementation, with our strategy. A whole governor came out to say military was ordered to a place and somebody ordered them back, which was what Senator Abaribi was complaining yesterday. Why is the Senate not saying fish out the commander? Let us start investigation from this one's head. If what the governor is saying is true, if what the governor is saying is not true, let us know whose interest is the governor protecting. Let's put truth on the table instead of you have headache, cut off the head, because this is what we always do. Keke, they robbed somebody in Keke yesterday, ban Keke. They robbed somebody in a taxi, ban bike. There's accident on. We just Tibos Obu. That's what we do. And it doesn't help us.
I wish I knew what that means.
It's painful, honestly, because death penalty for kidnappers. Again, let's prevent these things. Let's nip poverty in the bud. Let's secure our borders. I keep saying this thing. The former CDS, he complained about the fact that the northern sector of this country, the borders are just so open. You can stroll in and stroll out. At least, in fact, that conversation has not come up in all the president's address. What are we doing with our northern borders?
All right. Speaking of classifying kidnapping as a terrorism act, what are the pros and cons of labeling kidnapping as terrorism?
There is no pro, there is no con. If you have a policy that you cannot implement, you are currently negotiating with these people, and I understand that the lives of the hostages are priority during negotiations such as this, but it's not as if we've actively seen you decimate them. The kidnappers were telling the people, I think the Kebbi, the Kwara people, that no be government rescue now we just say maybe understand with them, giving them back. That's how emboldened they are. Go to TikTok, you see bandits doing videos. So yes, death penalty. We've in Anambra State, in a lot of states in the south, is there death penalties for kidnappers and all that. Has it stopped any of these things from happening? No, because our security architecture is not proactive. You wait for problems before you buy police a vehicle. If there's no problem, they don't buy police anything.
And when you buy them the vehicle, they would assembly them on the morning and drive them and want to drive people off the road. Anyway, so
it's not as if we're actively thinking of 10 years from now, what do we want our security architecture to look like? 5 years from now, what is this? If our recruitment of police officers and army officers now is just being accelerated because
it's an emergency.
And guess what? That process will be so flawed because nothing was thought through about it. Now fire is on the mountain. Everybody bring buckets. At the end of the day, we pack a lot of bad eggs into that system. Now they want to be using NYSC camps as training centers. So for a tactical group, how are you using so you cannot teach them map reading, you cannot teach them a lot of tech, you just crawl on your belly like this. You've gone to NYSC camp now, you saw the way they will teach you all these songs. It's not as if even Nigerians go to Israel. Your 1 year service now, military training is a full military training here.
They are proposing that for NYSC.
Our own 1 year service Is Saeed, is everything. No security consciousness.
So it's not enough to recruit over 20,000
It's not enough. Where's the technology to train all those people? Where's the manpower? It's sad.
Recruitment into any system is continually proactive. And why do you recruit people? Some are leaving, so new people have to come in. And before the people who are leaving, you need to bring in those new people so that you can start to have people who you would develop to even understand. But every time you change the head of the military, practically everybody who is their mate, especially when you now have to appoint someone who is their, you all have to leave.
Yeah. In
which system does that work? So you have someone who 20, 25, 30 years has gone through so much technical training, and then one morning he wakes up and then he hears that the chief of defense staff has retired. So that whole class, I some of them have they don't need to reach that position, but they are all in strategic positions. And then you now bring in the next class, and then 6 months later, because you don't feel good with the people around them, you move that next class of the people that you bring in. So you are just continually bringing in newer and newer people who probably haven't had as much experience as the others, and those ones just do what? They just retire. Because in Nigeria, when you retire from anything, you just retire. Not that even when you have so much to contribute, nobody wants to call you back, because everybody wants to show you that I know what I'm doing. Anyway.
All right, let's still talk about the background checks issue, which Joshua mentioned, that would lead into recruiting into police. I remember seeing a headline yesterday, news story about former deputy speaker who says that while he was on a House Committee on Defense, they found that Boko Haram suspects were found in army and police recruitment list, which was a huge issue, which means we have issues with background checks. Now let's now also tie this down to the firearm, legalizing firearms and guns for Nigerians. Let's even assume that we want to go with this and say, okay, let's even do this for the sake of the conversation. Do we have the capacity to carry out background checks for people, enforce and regulate that?
Let me start with the joke. We have BBN and NIN. But the reality is that we really don't have that data. We don't have data of even someone who committed a misdemeanor, not to talk about someone who committed what you call a high-level crime.
Yeah.
So how do you do background checks? Do you understand? And like you said, it came out, I think it was 3-4 days ago, sometime towards the end of last week. They were asking the UK government to let the former deputy Senate president to come back to Nigeria to serve his time. We know, because that happened outside Nigeria, but there's so many that have happened in Nigeria. We don't even know who they are. Even within, and this is the reality, even within organized security architectures, you have moles, which is what a number of Nigerians, even those within that security architecture in Nigeria, are continually speaking about. But nobody is doing anything. Like you said, the governor said, the military were aware, but someone called them back. So how? How do you even tackle all those things within the system? You have no clue, because you're not even proactive. So those ones that have left, now we are going to probe why. Rather than how is this happening every time? They just came in just after Onome just left. That's when they came. It's just ridiculous.
As for background checks, I've heard people who use their mother's NIN or something to register for their own NIN. If you go, especially some of my friends from the northern part of Nigeria, so one there's something you need for your phone number. We used to register 10 people.
Yeah.
So when you want to check for this person's NIN, somebody else's details
will come up.
Will pop up. We don't have capacity to gather data, keep data, deploy data, interpret the data, and make it so easy to call up, such that in fact the only people that can have those as are banks, and they pay a lot of money for this kind of capacity because of where they are. But a regular employer cannot do that. Now talk more of a gun seller. Let's talk of the logistics of selling guns. Right on these streets now we are on, you have like 3 gun shops,
and every 6 months the number of the gun shops.
I know Nigeria wants to start a business.
We change because today is 11, tomorrow it falls onto the other side, it's 12.
Look at what happened with POS. Suddenly POS became a tool for kidnappers, and you want to put gun shops in your neighborhood shops.
All right.
When you don't even know the address. Is it number 15 or is it number 14?
All right. Let's take reactions and calls at this point now.